Welcome to the Play Big Queen podcast. This is for the woman ready to lead with power, move with confidence, and own your play big self. For my newly minted or late blooming neurospicy visionary babes who are waking up to your power and unmasking your brilliance. For the sovereign leader building success on your own terms. I am your host, Kate Bailey. I am the Play Big Queen. My name is my title and a command for all women. Play Big Queen. I invite you to claim this title for yourself and coronate your Play Big self too, so it can serve you. This is a space for bold embodiment, radical reclamation, unapologetic leadership, and a business that works with your wiring, not against it. Your voice is meant to be bold and heard, and your brilliance is here to be claimed. You are already powerful. I am in service of everyone fucking tired of the people-pleasing grind. We go deep, we get real, and we play big. It's a new era for women on the play big path. Long may we reign. Hi, I'm Kate Bailey, and welcome back to Play Big Queen. I want to start today like I always do, with something honest and simple. I am in the middle of a pivot that feels huge and also inevitable. I am sitting with the weird tension of being grateful and exhausted at the same time, holding a life that is both fragile and roomy, and knowing that a new identity is quietly, insistently asking to be born and asking for me to evolve. Today, I want to bring you into that complex and precise space with me. I want to share where my head is, where my body is, and the real way the work I do in life is changing. I want to tell you about the way I see my role as a coach and how that is shifting, why my tiny spark of a fashion label tarantare is becoming louder in my life. I want to share with you how I pick a word or a mantra for the year, how to set my intentions for the year with play big goals that sometimes feel too big for my body, and what 2026 looks like through the eyes of a hierophant. Mostly, I want to invite you to come with me for a whole play big journey, because no play big queen plays big alone. If you've been here for a while, you know me. You know I speak from my body first and then from my mind, and sometimes the emotions take a little while to synthesize, as such is the way of an ADHDer. But I always start by getting present and checking in. And right now, my life is rich with tiny miracles, and it's also heavy with practical friction. There are moments of shared love, truth, and connection that buoy me. They remind me that this is not just about work. It is about lineage and relationship and the ritual of living, breathing, and being alive. And at the same time, there are pieces of my life that are still very much in transition. There are logistics that I am sorting through, systems that I am restructuring, and a few long-standing areas that are finally ready to move. I am navigating the process of changing my major at school and my focus in my work, which in any other season of my life would feel like a lack of focus. It would just feel like another symptom of ADHD, but in this season feels like a necessary shift into authenticity of what I am here to do. And I'm adjusting my aim, I'm tweaking my schedule, reallocating the precious resources of time, energy, money, and attention. And I am shaping my life around the woman that I am becoming. I want to be real about that because the texture and complexities of a reality shifting in tectonic movements is part of the story. It's part of my story, and it's part of every neurodivergent woman's story when she is moving from smallness to being larger than life. I have been rethinking what this podcast is for. I have been reconsidering how I want to use my voice, my platform, and leadership. And I have been rethinking and reimagining what I offer as a coach. And I finally admitted something that I have been resisting for a long time. I have been building my business and doing coaching from what I call a bottom-up method, when the work I am actually meant for lives in a top-down model. The difference between what I think the two is actually pretty simple, right? Bottom-up coaching is when most of your energy goes into sitting with people at their starting point. You're helping them regulate their nervous system. You're walking them through their fears step by step. You're holding space for their emotions. You're constantly reading the room and globally listening and translating what they're saying and mirroring them and anchoring them and steadying them and helping them process, helping them feel safe. It is beautiful work, but it is very physically and emotionally expensive, even if you become a pro at it. And even if the things that are emotionally expensive for one person no longer feel emotionally expensive to you, the truth is it requires your body to be the container. It asks your nervous system to do the heavy lifting. And even if you've expanded your container and you can lift heavy now, for me, bottom-up coaching keeps me small on the inside. It keeps me inside moments, providing a level of insight, talent, brilliance, and support for other people that honestly I just don't receive myself, because it's rare for someone to meet me where I am at. And specifically, I feel that my voice is meant to lead. I feel that this type of coaching has served me for a very long time. It is so important, this part of my journey. I love one-on-one coaching. I love group coaching, group facilitation, orchestrating the energy in the room. It feels pleasurable, like I am really gifted at it. Being trauma trained, having experience in crisis and neurodiverse affirming language is so important. And I've been noticing that for someone like me, it does keep my brilliance reactive and always responding instead of visionary and leading. It keeps me focused on the immediate needs of individuals in my coaching spaces instead of the larger cultural or creative shifts that I know I'm here to make. And if that kind of coaching or healing is what you feel like you are meant to do for your life's work forever, I really get it. And we so need you. And coaching is so valuable. I will always be engaged with coaching others in some way for the rest of my life. And I will always be in coaching spaces where I am learning and growing from coaches. But from my perspective, there is another level to this for me and what my personal gifts are and what my zone of genius actually is. Not like a better level, just a different approach. And for me, that approach is more top-down coaching. What I see top-down coaching is obviously the opposite of bottom-up coaching. It's where my ideas, my point of view, my storytelling, and my direction do the leading rather than my emotional bandwidth. It's where I'm speaking with rooms, not regulating rooms, where I'm shaping conversations, not just for the sake of social media marketing, or managing crises, but where I'm teaching, designing, creating, influencing, and leading from a place of clarity instead of strain. Top-down coaching and top-down expression of gifts and brilliance lets me use all my actual gifts from a place of leadership. And yes, I can be in my leadership and coaching, and I often am, but this context of coaching has always required me to go into a creative box and to contextualize those other gifts into a context of some sorts that is really limiting and into the context of what the client needs, not necessarily what our culture and our community at large needs. And yes, you can absolutely make a difference one person at a time, and that person goes on to create ripple effects that we will never see. But top-down direction allows me to use my interpersonal gifts, my design symbolism, voice, my creative direction, my cultural lens, and even my lineage work and my fashion perspective and my neurodivergent pattern recognition to contribute to a community at large without draining myself. Essentially, the difference between bottom up and top down for me in my language now feels like it's the difference between being the person who holds someone through the storm and being the person who shows them an entirely different weather system. And truly, not just to dangle the weather of a vacation spot in front of them so they buy a program, but so they can truly practically embody that energy. And the truth is, I've known for a long time that my work belongs in top-down spaces. And if I'm just being honest and real and vulnerable and a human, I think I wasn't fully ready to say it. I wasn't ready to say that my work belongs in another space because honestly, that would have meant admitting that at 44 years old, I have to make another massive shift. And I am going to be changing my major, my business, my focus, and I am literally jumping timelines again. And if I was insecure or hadn't done all this work or work on myself, or if I was still questioning myself, I might look at this and think, oh, is this just another ADHD distraction? Am I a part of that old story where I am all over the place or I just can't fucking focus? But that's not what this is. This feels like a sharpening of focus. It feels like a deeper unmasking. I feel like it's really easy for people with communication and healing gifts to build their whole life around a trauma response, and I'm no exception. And when you're operating from that place, or worse, if you don't have the resources you need in the context of a neurotypical society, it can be really easy to mistake that for self-actualization. And going to the depths also gives you greater capacity and expertise around navigating some really heavy stuff with the lived experience, with the technical practice and skills needed to thrive on the other side of it. But if I'm constantly guiding people through it, who's getting me through to the other side? And that's what this feels like for me. Like, I'm getting me through to the other side. And I'm crossing over into claiming a core part of my identity and brilliance that I haven't been able to claim for a long time, that I wouldn't have been able to claim unless I fully claimed my neurodivergent identity, my process, how I work, and what I'm truly best at, and refuse to compromise that just because of the way society is built or the expectations that are there. And those expectations are everywhere. They become social law in the context of education, in the context of occupational pursuits. So there are massive reclamations of identity in every area and phase of life, in addition to learning to fully reject what doesn't serve you and then embody what does. And in that reclamation of all that, and my authentic zone of genius, I feel like I'm truly lining up with the path that has been waiting for me. And I've been doing the emotional labor, the one-on-ones, the group containers, the social media launch roller coasters, and I can do that work. And I have been brilliant at it. But it is not where my absolute genius lives. Bottom-up work asks me to stay tethered to survival mode in some shape or form. It might not be so obvious on the surface because we may be used to it. It's like trying to see the air you breathe or the vibes and energy that you're swimming in when you're just really swimming in it. But bottom up work asks me to continuously sit in other people's pain, their confusion, their experiences, to help be a guide, regulate it, to be the grounding rod, carry emotional baggage, and ask questions that create consciousness, to be the activator on social media, but to be the bridge inside the coaching container between places that I have no desire to revisit at this stage of life and my development. And for me, that keeps me small by design because it never builds the infrastructure, the network, or the credibility that I need to get into that top-down structure. A top-down structure is where I'm building influence through authority, cultural shaping, public speaking, mentorship at scale, creative direction, or a communication strategy. It is where I take what I know about neurodivergent brilliance, ritual, now fashion and storytelling and design, and I put it on stages or into institutions that change the conversation. To get in those rooms, I need different credentials, different mentors, and a different kind of network than I have right now. And again, that feels so huge to admit at this stage because it means a ton of work. It means a massive refocus, and that I have to contend with that feeling that I am just getting started, but know that that is not the actual truth. But that is why I'm actually deciding to switch my major at school to a Bachelor of Science in Communication. I know a lot of people just go to college and get their bachelor's and they might work in a field that's not even related to their bachelor's, but that's not what I'm doing here. I'm looking to build my knowledge for where I want to go and what I want to do. And that degree is much more aligned with my actual zone of genius and building on top of the gifts that I already have. It leads to creative direction. It leads to cultural communication. It leads to the work I want to do in sharing my point of view and leadership roles that actually open doors in restructuring how companies include neurodivergent people, fashion, advocacy, and institutions where I can be a much bigger advocate for change. Now, I'm already far along on the journey in digital audiences and business, so I'm just going to switch those to minors, and I'll still have that fluency in data analytics and digital strategies, and that's going to matter, but my trajectory is changing. I am really moving from coaching as income to coaching as legacy. I want to mentor neurodivergent visionaries, but from a place of overflow, from a place of top-down coaching where I mentor them for free and because we have a great mentorship relationship, not because I'm charging for income through a coaching business. I believe that you do get to get paid for your time and your mentorship and your teaching. That's just not the relationship that feels aligned for me anymore with those terms in place. And this is why over the next year, you're going to hear a shift on this podcast. The pivot is going to be slow and it's going to be tender because I am still like mid-transition in life and hormones and a lot of body stuff that I'm working on stabilizing on top of this journey. And I do not want to burn the bridge or ghost the people who have been here for my bottom up season. Everyone is so valuable to me on this journey, and hopefully I bring some value to you as well, and we can still be on our journeys together. And Play Big Queen will become a place where I bring in other people. I plan to interview women doing unconventional journeys, like play big queens of industry who made non-traditional moves and found their authority. Think like Diary of a CEO for neurodivergent women who are not playing by old rule books. And I still am going to hold my walk and talk community because community matters. I might move that into a free group and broaden access to that at the start of 2026. What I would do for the people who are already in it is I would just cancel your paid membership and you'd still be a part of the community, but you would no longer pay going forward. And I feel like it makes sense and it's special. Sometimes the founding rate for a program or community is something you charge for, and then after it's free, and sometimes it's free, and then after you charge for it, it depends on the structure. And this just so happens to be my structure. But I would still love to do embodiment retreats, but guest at other coaches' events because those things restore me. Maybe moonlighting for pleasure, doing a horror crawl or a hot erotic mess at someone else's retreat. But I'm careful about the way I spend my emotional currency these days, and I'm building from the top down so I can create systems that honor sustainability and scale. And I also need to talk about Tarantate because that is where I keep getting called to lead and develop and go on this big old journey. I even spoke with Tony about what it would look like to spend 8 months in Italy at a master's program, and he was all for it. This is something that's really calling to me. And Tarantate is not just a fashion brand idea, it is mythology, it is history, it is the chorus of my ancestors singing through design, and it is a DNA that is being passed through me in brand form from my mother, who was an Italian seamstress turned bridal fashion brick and mortar business owner. It is the language of women rituals and reclaimed fashion from the patriarchy in every sense. And Tarantate is also the way that I personally translate diaspora memory into contemporary wardrobe that helps people get more embodied in the modern global context. Tarantate exists because of the lightning strike that the tower is teaching me to welcome what is inevitably next. And if you speak tarot cards, I'll share more on this in a minute in a way that makes sense about what the tower is and how it plays a role in all of this. But Tarantate exists because the mask that I did not even realize I was wearing is coming off in new layers every day. It is part decolonization, part reclamation of neurodivergent gifts that didn't get developed when they could have been because I was forced to ignore those to survive. I am reclaiming my creative talents. I never stopped being a designer. I was always designing as a way to express all that I could not express in neurotypical language while learning to survive in systems that truly did not honor my rhythm or my process or my fundamental ways of being. And now I want to build more Tarantate prototypes. I want to prototype 4 more shoes and start imagining garments that move like ritual and pieces that adorn women's bodies and move like a reclaimed embodiment of women who are having their second sexual awakening in life and who are also reclaiming their culture and their identity after being removed from it for years because of either patriarchy or colonization or just what the fucking world does to women. And this is a slow kind of work. When people talk about slowing down to speed up, this is the kind of work I'm talking about. It will take years. I'm going to play with AI and design early models to create first clothing ideas. And I'm going to continue to take inspiration from other fashion designers that might not have the same skills that I don't, but also make up for it in visionary ways and interpersonal gifts that get to be expressed in this medium. Like I said, I might want to go for a master's and study in Italy. I will need to make room for the life necessary to hold that kind of aesthetic and creative authority. And part of this work is also letting go of certain containers and practices and ways of communicating that feel packaged and watered down. I've been putting myself in spaces and places and relationships and learning environments where I'm really remembering who I am outside the context of the coaching industry. And it's already led me to make some shifts. Like, for example, if you know me from the Sister Goddess world or Mama Gina's work, like spring cleaning used to be a pivotal place for processing for me. I loved being witnessed in that format and witnessing other women in their process. But lately, for me, it just feels too shallow. It feels too structured for the way my brain actually processes and the way my emotions actually process. It feels like a container, not with boundaries that allow us to respect each other, but it feels like a container with limitations that don't allow my neurodivergent process to be fully present. And my body feels like it needs relational conversation. When I'm in a room with people who match my rhythm, who let me arrive uninterpreted, who meet me with clarity and space, I can actually access deeper, unmasked layers of myself. And that is what I want more of. I want more friendships that are sisterly and soft, where I am not always the strong friend or giving all the insights or doing all the work to get into the neurotypical rhythm and doing the work to get myself to be included. I want to play with more friends who see my vision, who get it and expand me, people who take their own big vision seriously and my big vision seriously, but also know how to play with it. I am very willing to, and I know that I am at another phase in my journey where I will need to let go of relationships and pockets of people that are flippant or just full of so much doubt. And I am making space for people who are, like I said, more devoted and serious and who can be rare resources in my life. Also, I need to be honest about health in the context of my goals because it intersects with everything. I've been asked by my body time and time again to slow down. This year, my hormone shifts amplified ADHD, and it has been this brutal feedback loop where medication helps executive function, but it harms hormones and fertility, and the absence of medication makes logistics impossible. I have been doctoring myself and tracking hormones and working to find the balance, and there is physically uncomfortable weight gain, joint instability, and exhaustion. And I also got my MTHFR gene variant tests back, and I'm positive for those genetic variants. So I also plan to pursue MTHFR supplementation, hormone regulation. I'm going to get a rheumatologist and continue EMDR therapy, and I'm going to work to come off ADHD medication if I can and do a modified school schedule. But there are trade-offs that inevitably happen both physically and socially when I truly calibrate to my timing. 2026 is going to be a season that asks for radical tenderness and radical boundary setting, which brings me to my process for setting intentions and goals for the new year. Now, I've shared on this podcast before some of my process for the end of the year, but every year I have this ritual that I do where I choose a word or phrase or mantra that becomes the essence of my next year. Some people just sit down and plan this out with journaling sessions and worksheets, and they ask themselves how they want to feel. Some of that I take into this process, but that's not my whole process. For me, this is something that I wait to receive. I wait for the urge, not the impulse, but the real internal pull to sit down and figure out what the next year is trying to say to me. And it usually starts with clear audience, where words just begin popping into my awareness. It's the same channel that I used when the name Play Big Queen came to me. Now, I'm not hearing voices, and there's nothing wrong if you hear voices, but I do get the sudden appearance of a word or a phrase, and I just know, oh, that's mine. That's for me. That's for the next year. And most years, this nudge comes at the end of December, like right at the end of the year. But this year, it really surprised me. It came at the end of November, like maybe 5 days before I recorded this podcast episode and put it out. And maybe that's because I've been processing a lot of big shifts earlier, and I got the nudge to sit down earlier than usual. And once I did, the words just started pouring out of me. Normally I get one word, one year I received the word devotion, or the year that I knew my word was instrument, when I felt called to use my body like an instrument and find my own unique song and channel the vibrations and actually walk to the beat of my own drum. But this year, instead of one word, I got a cluster of mantras all at once. And I'm still marinating on whether I'm using all of them, but there has been one mantra that has kind of come through clearly that's going to be my anchor for 2026. And I'll share that in a moment. But part of my process for intention setting and goal setting for the new year is, once I receive the word or the phrases, the next thing I do is pull tarot cards. And I was really into tarot cards when I was younger. I used to sleep with my cards wrapped in a cloth. When I was a teenager and in my 20s, I had a real relationship with my cards. And I'm not in that season of life and spirituality anymore. If you are, that's great. I'm a little bit more woo practical now. I don't consult them every day. I consult when truly needed. And I believe in using these spiritual tools, but I'm also grounded in my own authority. A tarot card reading doesn't necessarily dictate my life, but I pull a card and I listen internally and I ask, does this resonate? Is this relevant? Is it helpful? And if it is, I keep it. And if it isn't, I don't contort myself trying to make it fit into my world. But my process is always the same. I pull a 3-card spread for the path that I'm on, and then I pull one single card for the year ahead. And what is so interesting is that almost every year, that one card that I pull for the year ahead is part of the major arcana. And it's a card with a big, clear theme in it. It's the energy of the year introduces itself before the year even starts, much in the way a fully embodied woman in her authority, her energy enters the room before she even gets there, right? So that's the backbone, essentially, of my end of year process. I wait for the nudge. I receive the word or the mantras for the year that anchor me into my goals. I pull tarot cards. I look at what it all means in the context of my life, my development, and the direction I'm meant to move toward. And then I start shaping my intentions and goals around that energy. And that's also what I want to share with you in this episode, this process and what came through for my 2026. I want to share how I'm pivoting Play Big Queen and how all of this fits into the bigger picture of where I'm going. And if any part of this feels supportive for you, you can take what serves you and leave the rest. So here's what showed up for me in my New Year calibration process, where I do this life inventory, goal and intention setting, word and mantra listening, and tarot card pull process for 2026. The card that showed up for me is the Hierophant. If I had to explain what this means for me in simple terms for 2026, I would say that 2026 is going to be an initiation into spiritual creative authority. It is lineage activation. It's not about a defined job title. It is an identity. Much in the way you have an artist, say Doja Cat. She's not going around being Doja Cat, singer, songwriter, whatever, right? No, you just know her as your name, right? So the Hierophant for me is really about that type of identity activation, not necessarily having to give myself a title, even though I will be pursuing whatever, creative director of Tarantati, founder, what the fuck ever, right? But it's a moment where teaching and receiving merge. With the Hierophant, I'm really being asked to step into creative authority rather than wait for permission or for a title. I'm being asked to choose mentors and training with intention and specificity. I'm being asked to remember that my fascination with Italy and Tarantism and ritual and performance and neurodivergent perception is not random. It is my inheritance. The Hierophant card is not a promise of ease. It is an invitation to structure, and it's an invitation into responsibility. It is the very sacred pressure of living in alignment with the truth of who I am becoming. And then the 3-card spread I did for my, quote unquote career read like this. The first card was the 8 of discs. And this says that I have already built the foundation, that I am not starting from scratch, to remind me that I have the skill, the craft, the discipline, the lived experience, and years of emotional labor that have turned into muscle memory at this point. The work I have done counts and created what is necessary for my next steps. I am not only pivoting, I am growing and building on top of a foundation that I created. And that felt like a really gentle reminder from spiritual guides, because I do have a tendency with an ADHD history to think that I'm just like scrapping everything and starting over, but I will have to remind myself that I'm not. And the second card, this is what I referenced earlier. The second card I pulled in this 3-card spread was the Tower. And it shows the necessary collapse of old identities that could not hold my truth. It is the lightning strike that shatters what was in reality too small for me. The lightning has struck the tower. The ceiling has now become my floor. And that collapse is liberation. It is the moment where the mask falls because it can no longer survive my conscious self-knowledge. The third card, the 5 of Swords reversed, is actually the defeat card, but because it's reversed, it is the mental release of defeat. It is the moment where the old narrative of I'm too old, I'm too late, I'm too scattered, I'm too all over the place, I'm too unfocused, just completely dissolves. Any possible warring in my head is expected to go quiet. The old story is expected to become completed and done. The most sacred of truths gets her microphone back. And the net of this tarot spread is clear, right? Like, I have roots. I am breaking out. My mind is catching up to my destiny. So what do I do with all this? I start to build a list of things that I want and things that I will practice. I build my list of mantras. I build invocations for my future self. I build new ways of being that will serve me deeply going forward. I built a leadership credo for the woman I am becoming. And I built it around the mantra that came in as the anchor for 2026. And that mantra is, everyone get behind me. Now, this is a mantra that can sound hierarchical if you take it at face value, but it isn't about hierarchy at all. It's about alignment. It's about coherence. It's about calling my energy, my lineage, my guides, my future self, my lived experience into a single unified direction behind me so I can move forward without drag. Everyone get behind me means my fear gets behind me, old stories get behind me, ancestors' grief, brilliance gets behind me, identity, my body, my timing gets behind me. It is both a posture and a propulsion forward. It is a stance and a recalibration. And I'm going to get deep and real on us here and very spiritual. Everyone get behind me is the coagulation of energy, because we are all one. We are all part of source, or whatever you want to call it, God. And even when we think we are doing this alone, we are doing this in a pool of energy with everyone else. And we need their energy to be this driving force for good in our world. We need to be the conduit. And when everyone gets behind me, they are about to flow through me. It's not follow me because I'm better. It's align with me because I'm leading myself. And this really ties directly to one of my leadership mantras from leadership training that has really stayed with me for years. I lead from integrity, generosity, and the responsibility of my gifts. I do not lead from ego or fear or desire to control, but from the responsibility of knowing that my gifts are not accidents, they are assignments. Everyone get behind me is the energetic translation of that mantra in my body. It is the call forward into leadership that is grounded, awake, and present. So, what do I want for 2026? I want a life where my choices are anchored, where I'm deeply in the other supportive mantras of like, I choose right day and night, which allows me to stop taking the easy way out when my capacity feels maxed out from hormones and like really choose what I need, where my consistency matters for momentum way more than my intensity, and where my health and body capacity and slowness are centered, where my voice gets used for something bigger than generating income, and where Tarantati gets the creative oxygen that it really needs. I want to study and evolve and sharpen into the woman that, even if I didn't always acknowledge it, I've always known myself to be. And I wrote down daily journal prompts to keep myself just checking in with myself on this journey. I wrote down questions like, what can I let go of? What evidence do I have today that this is all working? What do I desire? And what do I need to make space for in order to receive it? I wrote down some relationship practices like more emotional intimacy check-ins, more playtime on the weekends, and more time with people who can actually hold depth and devotion. And I'm doubling down on my commitment to spend less time with people who treat connection like an emotional dumpster behind a convenience store. I wrote down some health-based intentions that are not punishment-based, that are really like supportive and from a place of self-love and self-respect, that continue the practice of ditching perfectionism, especially like in the gym or with health or food, and are really like based in a place of honoring my capacity. And I also wrote down some simple school goals. Like, obviously, I want to finish what I started at ASU and switch my major to communications. I want to create the academic runway that leads to maybe doing a master's program in Italy, and let myself just like be a beginner again in a creative field that I was born to belong to, and where my natural communication and design talents can be this like rich fertilizer. And own my truth, right? That this is a major fucking course shift and that it will take years, and that I'm not pretending that this is small at all. This is a whole reorientation at a time when like my entire chemical structure in my body is reorientating, and there will be grief for what I release. There will be excitement for what arises. People are going to fall away. New people will come in. Some people will not understand. Some people will become lifelong witnesses. And I am learning to let my life be edited like an art practice, right? Like even in maximalism, it's always about the edit. And I've said this time and time again, my biggest life lessons about creation and being on the play big path come from design. Like, creation and design have a relationship. Design is the way we get what we create to function. And those lessons from design are like, what is not there is just as important as what is there. The negative space is important. To put it in simplest terms, when you don't fill your life with fuckboys, you get the love of your life, right? Like, I'm looking to not have the fuckboys of my life's work. And so holding that space, the negative space, is so important. And then also, you get anywhere faster in a straight line. That's something that my engineer grandfather taught me while he was rearing his undiagnosed ADHD granddaughter. You get anywhere faster in a straight line. So I get to go straight for my dreams and what I want. And so I asked myself, what is the straight line to what I want? What can I remove so the composition of my life reads cleaner? What can I keep that honors ancestry and identity and my teachers and mentors in the future? I also want to be crystal clear about my relationship to coaching. I am not abandoning coaching. I am just completely reframing it and reworking it. I no longer want coaching to be the sole structure that finances my life. I want it to be a pillar of my legacy work. Like I said, I want to mentor neurodivergent visionaries from overflow and expertise and aligned mentorship relationships, not from a place of like charging for mentorship or like using coaching as income. I want to offer guidance from the top down with authority, clarity, and a full fucking tank. And this is why the podcast will be shifting slowly, tenderly, in real time as my life shifts. But I'm already feeling myself shift and make different decisions. And I feel myself being more careful now. My emotional currency is a finite resource. Top-down leadership is requiring me to spend it wisely, and I'm already feeling myself make those choices for my body with that knowing. And as I continue to change and grow, I will keep you updated on school, on Tarantati, on the evolution of this podcast. I think how it's going to play out practically is some days it's going to feel like nothing's changed. I'm going to still deliver the same type of episodes. And then there might be an abrupt shift when I feel like I'm ready. And I'll probably tell people to go back to this episode to get updated on the trajectory shift if they aren't caught up. And I'll tell you about the big wins and the small wins on the entirety of this play big path. And I'm going to tell you about the hard days and the hormone swings and the timing struggles and the days where the body says stop and listen. And I'll still pull all the juice from those moments for us. And I'll still do the real work of a life on a play big path. But for now, if you are in a place to receive it, I want to offer you something before we close. And I want to call your attention to a quick embodiment practice, a way to feel this mantra of everyone get behind me in your body. Stand with your feet wide. Inhale. And as you do, imagine your lineage, your lived experience, your mentors, your ancestors, no matter what kind of relationship you had to any of them. And imagine your future self all gather behind you like a warm wave. And exhale. Let your shoulders drop. Place one hand at the base of your spine and one hand at the back of your neck. Breathe heat in between your hands, up and down your spine. Lift your heart up to the sky and say to yourself softly, everyone get behind me. Step forward once and whisper, and I will lead my life. Put your hand at the center of your chest and claim, I lead from truth. I lead from connection. I lead from love. I lead from source. Lift your chin just a little and put it together. Everyone get behind me, and I will lead. Write it in your journal. Say it if it serves you. I'm not asking you to do what I do. I'm offering what is working for me. And if it inspires you, take what works. Sometimes the words come to us and we hear them. Sometimes they come through other people. But take what works and leave the rest. Thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing the messy and the sacred. Thank you for getting behind me in whatever way you can. If you want to come on a future episode and tell a story about your own unconventional rise, reach out. If it fits with where I think we are going with the podcast, we can talk about if we can do an episode together. And if you want to join Walk and Talk Wednesdays, join Walk and Talk. But for now, breathe, find your spine, anchor into the base. Choose the right feelings for the life that you want. I love you, and we'll talk more soon. That's it for today, Queen. Take what lit you up, leave what didn't. You know what serves. If you want to stay in this Play Big Queen orbit, get the rituals, resources, and real talk that fuels your Play Big self, go to xxxkatebailey.com, scroll to the bottom, and join this community. This is where bold women gather. Neurodivergent visionaries, disability warriors, sacred disruptors. If this episode spoke to you, leave a review on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Leave comments, give me all the stars, share it. That's how we create change that ripples and how this podcast gets out to more people who need it. If you're ready to work together to make your Play Big self not just a vision, but a reality that you embody, then head to xxxkatebailey.com, go to the Work with Kate section, and join in on a program that feels right for you. Or tag me on socials and tell me a moment that truly served you from this episode. Until next time, remember to honor your own timing, value your own unique way, and most of all, when you come face to face with your boldest desires, trust your brilliance and play big, Queen. Hey, Queen, are you still here? Good. That means you're not just curious. You are being called and want more. I am here for the ones who want more than party trick mindset hacks, the ones who need nervous system rooted, neurodiverse affirming space held by someone who is trauma trained so they can rise on their terms. My work is designed to center folks navigating ADHD, autism, disability, trauma, or mental health challenges, and their brilliance all at once. You do not need to be someone who identifies as neurodivergent or someone who has a disability to benefit from this work. If you're feeling called, you belong here. I believe in and support queer and trans rights, Black Lives Matter, sex worker rights, Palestinian, Ukrainian, and global South liberation, religious autonomy, and dismantling abusive systems. If that's too much for you, then babe, this isn't your podcast and you know where the unfollow is. But if that lights a fire within you, and you are inspired to learn more, then my Play Big Queen, you are home. You can also head over to xxxkatebailey.com/about to learn more about me, my company, qualifications, methodology, values, worldviews, philosophies, and my mission. My mission is to activate 10,000 women with invisible disabilities to lead, create, speak up, and claim the spaces that they were told to shrink inside. Because their leadership, your leadership, will change the world. If you know that's you, declare it. Put your energetic line in the sand and tell me. Email me at info@playbigqueen.com and tell me why this work is so important for you, and we can explore opportunities to work together and make your Play Big dreams a reality.